The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hey there, welcome to the Bronx Buzz. This is the program where we interview Bronx journalists, Bronx photographers, Bronx videographers, really anybody connected with Bronx media, and give you a little insight as to who they are, what they're about, what they're talking about, what they're writing about. And this evening we have two great guests, and the first one I guess I should give applause to. It is Michael Hinman, the editor of the Riverdale Press. First of all, hi, Michael. Michael's all the way in Florida. I don't know what he's doing there. I guess getting warm weather.
I'm in my dad's house. This is the background. Here's my dad's.
All right, well, tell Dad I said hello. But really, Michael, you know I was enthusiastic about bringing you on the program because the Riverdale Press, yet again, or still, did very, very well, better than well, at the New York Press Association's awards this year. And so I wanted to give you a chance, and really all of us a chance, to celebrate one of the best newspapers in the state of New York, certainly in the Bronx. We have all great newspapers in the Bronx, but congratulations. It must have been exciting for you.
I mean, it was. I would have liked to have seen some more first places, but last year was my first year where we were, at least since I've been editor, since we were competing, and we did really well. We did 4 awards, and I was very happy about that. But this year to take home 10 was great for us and great for the team. I mean, everybody worked really hard, and it's been just a group effort in terms of just trying to cover our community and do the best that we can do with it, and just hope that people notice it while we're doing it. So
I was looking through the list and looking through. There is an article on RiverdalePress.com about, justifiably so, about the awards. Is the second place design award the one that you will remember, or is it unfair because you don't want to pick one over the other? But that's a pretty cool award, that out of all the newspapers in the state, you get, or against local newspapers, you get a number 2 for design.
Well, we were number 1 last year, so.
Gee, what a terrible season you had! A terrible year.
But what's great about that, though, I mean, what's good about that is that I was so worried because, like, for me, in order to kind of, because design is so difficult to do in newspaper, and I don't think a lot of people realize how much effort really has to go into design. That for me, I was like, as long as we place, as long as I know we're not going to get first 2 years in a row. That's really hard to do. But if we just get honorable mention, I'll be happy. So I was extremely happy to get second place.
Publisher emeritus Richard Stein still works with you on those kinds of things. Talk to me a little bit. He's not here. He's not in the room with us. But talk a little bit about what his skills are and what he brings to the table. I mean, aside from his vast experience, that really helps to design a newspaper when that clock is ticking and the deadline is happening.
Yeah, I mean, well, Richie lives in Philadelphia now, so it's thank goodness for technology. But he's somebody that at least before I got there was doing a lot of the design work for the paper. I mean, the design award that we won second place for and that we won last year is actually named after him. So I mean, that's how big of a New York Journal. I mean, because I come in with a lot of design skills, I kind of took over a lot of those things as editor. But he still does our A1, for instance. That's the biggest one he normally does. And then he's also a great resource for us because, there's no secret. I've only been in the city for 2 years now. I mean, I'm in Tampa right now, which is where I was for 20 years before that. And having that, that institutional knowledge that Richie brings. And plus, he's just such a great guy, just having him around makes me smile.
Well, I laugh because, in my mind, because I've known him, of course, for many years longer than you have, that goes without saying. Let's talk about some of the content things. I mean, because really, after all, I mean, design is nice, but you're putting out a newspaper and you try to provide top quality content, and the paper has for more than 50 years. Talk to me about the articles. I mean, I've got the list here, but I don't want to pick anything out. You tell me about the ones that you just say, wow, this was just such a good piece, and I'm glad it was recognized.
Well, our whole team actually did a story back in, I want to say it's almost a year ago, and I kind of hope that Community Board 8 picks up on this because they were supposed to, but there was this whole group reporting that we did on the efforts to try to downzone a segment of Kingsbridge Heights. And it's because it's this beautiful little garden community that has been around for a long time that people have really liked. And the concern is that it's actually zoned to do higher density, which means that somebody could come in and start knocking down those nice smaller, homes and start putting up towers, and how much that would really change the dynamic of that community. And we really put together, which I thought, with our reporters like Tiffany Moustakis, Zach Costro, Julius Model went out and did great photos, and even one of our interns, Aaron Mayorga, was just fantastic in that. And I mean, to me, that was just a great story that we put together, and it got third place. But it was some really tough competition in that category that it won third place in.
Maybe people don't realize what goes into it, and maybe this would be like a little inside baseball here, so to speak. What goes into, number one, making a story like that is a team effort, but also monitoring the quality of it so that it doesn't always win awards, but that you can have a paper and something that is kind of a little better than standard fare, so to speak. Like, what goes into it? I mean, how many rewrites, how many edits? I mean, what does it take to produce stuff that is quality?
It's a lot of planning, really. Our typical week starts very quickly. It starts the minute we finish the previous week's paper, where even while we're working on the previous week's paper, the reporters are off really working on the next set of stories. And it's a lot of organization, it's a lot of discussion. I mean, every single word in our paper goes through me. Every story goes through me, and it's something that we talk about very extensively, both in our story budgets and then later in our editorial meetings, and then even in the editing process. And I mean, the nice part is that, when you get writers who are pretty skilled, that you don't really have to go back for multiple rewrites or anything like that. That, like, a lot of times, like, people like Zach and Zach Koster, you can go through in just one shot a lot of times, just some editing and it's ready to go. It's a lot of understanding what I'm looking for, and I'm understanding what they want to do, and then what stories what we all want to tell. And that's listening to our readers as well, because our readers know what stories they want to read, and that's what we try to give them.
I love the notion of sitting together and coming up with, like, as a team, this is the story we're going to write, this is the angle we're going to take, or you go about doing. I mean, to me, as somebody born and bred in journalism and in media, you don't always have effective meetings like that. A lot of times it's top down. You have journalists walking out complaining, but it seems like you guys have a nice interactive program going. I'd like to talk about one of my buddies who's been on this show a few times, and that is, I call him a photographer, but he's really a photojournalist and a writer, and that is, I'm going to Julius Constantine Motal, and he awarded third place for his coverage of the arts. Talk to me about Julius and kind of the balance you have to strike with a guy who's a really good photographer, but, if you let him go, he can write you a pretty good story, too.
Yeah, Julius is an absolute fantastic person. And by the way, he shared that award with Tiffany Moustakis.
Yes, that's true.
Who's worked really well with that too. But Julius, it's weird because I've worked with so many photographers in my 26, 27 years as a journalist. And, and you can have people who are great photographers, but maybe not so great writers. I've had someone who couldn't even spell. They would submit their cut lines, their captions, and I would have to really rework them. But it's so nice to have somebody like Julius to where he can spell and he can also write very well. I mean, at a level to where if he wasn't a great photographer, I would definitely hire him as a reporter.
Wow.
And having his presence, especially because he's the person that's usually going out there with the reporters, because he's usually the one shooting, and being able to have him there as well, it's almost like having a second reporter out there, because he'll tend to ask questions every once in a while, and and kind of help supplement, what our reporters are doing out there. And it's so great having that kind of influence. And he's such a great influence in the newsroom as well. He's always that calming force. You've talked to him enough. He's a very calm guy. He's the kind of person that knows how to really relate to people very quickly. And I think that I don't know anybody who doesn't like him. I mean, he's just such a great guy.
Which is interesting because that's how I introduced it. I said, you know where I'm going. I mean, he's just a wonderful person. I was sorry that Simone Johnson left, and I see here that she won 2 awards. She did never come on the show. She was one of those people who loves print and doesn't love, the two-dimensional media. But the story she wrote about a retiring teacher, and that's also a challenge because, yeah, you could tell a story and, okay, so so-and-so is retiring, but to tell it in a way that's, has emotion in it, I mean, it takes real skill.
Yeah, that was for Bruno Santini, I think, over at
Right.
Intech Academy. And, and the thing about community journalism, the one thing that I stressed the moment that I walked in the door, and I think that the paper had kind of moved away from for several years, is that in community journalism, in our hyper-local approach that we try to take, that it always starts with people, ends with people. So our stories, no matter what the issues are, should always be starting with people, should always be ending with people, because it's not just what's happening, it's how it's happening to people.
Michael, there's all, I mean, we could go through each and every one, your coverage of politics, you and Zach Castro won a third place for coverage on the high-profile primary between Biaggi and Klein. We could go on and on. Do you think about awards when you start and you say, wow, this is going to be an award-winning story, or do you just write them and let the good Lord make a choice somewhere along the way?
I don't think we actually start thinking about awards until about the middle of December, which is about the end of the period when they start opening up for entries for like the New York Press Association and such. I mean, it's not that we never think about it, but I mean, really, our push is to cover our community first. Like I think my boss asked me while we're at night, but like, so what do I have cooking for this year that I think I might submit next year? And that's like, to be honest, I haven't even begun to think about it. I mean, my whole focus has been, covering the community, and to me, awards like this are great, but it's an added bonus to what we do. What I want to do is make sure that our readers are getting the news that they deserve to be getting.
Right. And I know from my perspective, and from where I sit, sometimes you feel like you have a good story or I have a good interview or a good show coming up, and you do it well. And then and if you're sincere to the work and you're sincere to the notion of journalism, or certainly in my case, television, then again, if they like it, good for them. Listen, Michael, enjoy the vacation. I appreciate you taking a few moments out of your vacation to join us on TV. And you'll be back soon enough and cranking away at the desk.
I'm back in the city tomorrow. So.
All right, we'll look forward to seeing you again. Michael Hinman for the Riverdale Press, 10 awards from the New York Press Association. Congratulations, and we'll see you when you get back to New York.
Sounds great, Gary. Thanks.
All right. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to take a short break. We're going to switch gears, go to another a wonderful Bronx newspaper, and that's the Bronx Times reporter. And he's got a lot of moxie. I'll tell you, Alex Mitchell really has a lot of moxie, and we'll give you a sample of it in just a moment. Don't go away.
Sure, I look cute now, but when my owner lost his job, it was rough. I was living on the street, and one night, me and this Cocker Spaniel got into it so bad, I wound up looking like an ice cream cone. I cried a little bit, but thankfully I got rescued, so I'm running, I'm jumping, all back to my old self, and I'm ready to give unconditional love, even if you put a lampshade on my head.
It's not always easy being a dad.
Do you have panda asthma too? Does that run in the family? This is the home of the most priceless kung fu artifacts.
But when you make an effort,
Dad, we're not supposed to touch anything. Oh, sorry. Go along, son.
it's always worth it.
Whoa!
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
I am gonna get you. I'm gonna get you.
Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov to learn more.
You know what, guys? There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
I'm guessing Smokey liked that idea.
Hey, it's Ava, and this is Tess from Vivo's Do It Yourselfie, where we recreate the hottest looks from today's biggest music videos.
After cleaning out our closet, we have a lot of clothes we don't wear anymore.
Like this old t-shirt.
It's not garbage, it's actually a brand new rug.
And to make it, all you need to do is cut, tie, and glue.
Cut the t-shirt into strips.
Tie the strips into knots.
And glue the knots to the bath mat. I love it. Give your garbage another life.
And recycle.
All right, back with you on the Bronx Buzz, and my buddy Alex Mitchell is here. Nice to have you with us, Alex.
Gary, it's always a pleasure.
And Alex, I'm going to hold up the actual print copies of the latest Bronx Times Reporter. The paper's doing great. Listen, as I have told you, and I have told many of your friends and colleagues and other people, that I think as great as the paper has been all these years, I think it's better than it's been in a very long time.
Well,
Maybe.
I'm very happy to hear you say that because tomorrow we actually have a new little surprise coming out with the paper. So
really, can we reveal?
Yeah, just look out for a new front cover.
Oh, you're not going to reveal it. You're just saying a surprise.
Well, look out for a new picturesque front cover.
Oh, so you a redesign?
A little bit.
A little bit.
In both Bronx Times and Bronx Times Reporter.
Alex covers all kinds of things. He covers food. He covers this, that, and the other. You had told me, and actually we saw the media about it, that the Yankees had boosted their culinary at Yankee Stadium. And I don't know that they made things cheaper, but you could still get a burger for $14.95. Nonetheless,
if you're lucky.
If you're lucky. What do you got?
I was given the privilege to taste test the new Yankees menu for this season.
During a game or prior to a game?
Prior to the season, a couple of days before opening day, we had our own little opening day in the kitchen. And I got to try things like a burrata burger with a little bit of arugula on it. Mm-hmm. Very good. It was actually a slider, technically. The Tres Leches milkshake, though, I think that is going to be a big seller, especially.
And so they've only had one homestand, right, or one series at home, right?
They've been road warriors a lot.
On the road,
so
fans haven't really had a chance.
No,
so you like the Tres Leches
milkshake. Buffalo Wild Wings is partnering with them now. They're bringing in a spicy Asian zing flavored wing to the stadium.
Oh my goodness!
I'm a fan of that one.
You know, listen, I'm a big baseball fan. I'm going for the food.
I love the food. It's part of the game.
Yeah.
It really is. And, but an all-time favorite that's been around that I think is going to stay around, the refillable popcorn bucket at Yankee Stadium, in my opinion, one of the best deals you can get.
It's a good deal, or the popcorn itself is real good?
The popcorn is great. And the fact that...
I can't believe how my show is denigrated. Now we're talking about popcorn.
We are, exactly. The peanut gallery and everything. But until the seventh inning, you can refill the big bucket. And
really?
Yeah.
Actually, that makes a lot of sense, because really, what does it cost them to pop out the popcorn?
I mean, I'm happy. It's my dinner sometimes at the stadium when I go. But you know what?
I'm sorry that you admitted that, but that's okay.
Don't be sorry. I usually around these times, especially April when baseball season is going on, I like to wear some pinstripe material.
You do.
Like to bring it on the show. But
right.
I think for the first time in a while, I should wear something orange and blue.
There you go.
And...
so what do you got?
The New York Islanders are in the Stanley Cup playoffs. They're one up on the Pittsburgh Penguins. I was
you were at the game last night?
I was lucky enough to go to the game last night.
You we should tell people you grew up on Long Island.
Yes.
Obviously now you're covering the Bronx. And
From
you've been an Islander fan, and they have been in the toilet for many, 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 many years, including their arena.
Yes.
And
yes,
now there's a resurrection on Long Island.
Yes, the toilet has finally been unclogged. And it seems like the Islanders are headed, in the right direction. But more than
Certainly
that,
winning the first game over the Penguins is a good thing.
But more than that, this is the first time I've seen a confident squad out there. And that makes me excited, being from a town known as Oyster Bay, Long Island, to quote the great Billy Joel. But anyway, we've got a lot of news to talk about, too.
Yes, so we go from the sublime to the very difficult. You covered a story that it just saddens all of us. A Bronx firefighter was killed in, I guess it was Afghanistan. And as you wrote the story, tell us all about it.
Staff Sergeant Christopher Slutman of the United States Marine Corps was one of 3 Marines killed on Monday in that IED explosion from the Taliban in Afghanistan. And when the city heard, when the fire department heard, when the FDNY heard, they took care of him. They took care of his family. There was a big ceremony on Monday at his firehouse off the Cross Bronx Expressway in Claremont. And on Tuesday, the the Tunnel to Towers Foundation said that they would pay off his family's mortgage.
Wow.
He has a wife, Shannon. He has 3 daughters, and the FDNY is actually setting up a scholarship for his family as well, for his daughters to go to college. So, they're taking care of him.
Out of tragedy, I guess that could be the good news. But when I hear stories about that, and I guess you measure your own life, the bravery, the commitment, not only to be a firefighter in New York City where anything can happen, but then to say, I'm going to go there and I'm going to fight for my country. My heart, all our hearts are just bleeding and crying over this.
In Throg's Neck, Christian Engeldrum in 2004, he was one of the last Bronx firefighters to not only serve in the FDNY, but then the military and pay the ultimate sacrifice. And to do that is something I can't imagine.
Yeah, you just can't imagine, and our hearts are heavy, certainly all over the Bronx and all over the country, of course. We're doing this today, so that was a very difficult thing, and what we said was heartfelt. But a good friend of mine, Adiana Rivera, who I know her as a videographer, but she is also a wonderful photographer. You wrote a nice piece about her first gallery.
Her first solo exhibit at Boogie
And
Down Grind Cafe.
I'm going to have her come in and we'll show some pictures here.
That would be great.
We do that on the Bronx Buzz.
She is actually a big hockey fan too.
Really? I had no idea.
She is, I think, the only Tampa Bay Lightning fan in the borough of the Bronx. But
Actually,
this is the season to be a Lightning fan.
I know of another who I communicated with last night, and he was very upset when Tampa Bay won.
I can imagine.
So I didn't know that she was. But
well, the Islanders are undefeated in the playoffs, so there's that. But she opened up her first solo exhibit at Boogie Down Grind Cafe in Hunts Point. She exhibited 5 photos, mostly of scenic Bronx landscapes. Actually, I think some of them ended up in the trailer for the Joker movie, because that was all West Bronx. But she also shoots for the Bronx Times, does a phenomenal job. She's gotten some great candids of me in the process.
You know what? We're not going to have her bring some of those. That'll be fantastic.
Oh, goodness. They're on my Instagram and some other places. But, I'm very excited for the career that she's pursuing. I'm very excited for where she's going with things.
A talented young Bronxite who, the sky's the limit because she's a young person and really has already done really good work. When you take a look at an exhibit like that, what's, I don't want to say the trick, what's the method to capturing artists and being able to portray that? In a way, it's the same question I asked Michael Hinman. What's the trick to doing that and get it so people will really appreciate it?
I think making it authentic, making it legitimate, making it something that you can only see this artist doing, where it doesn't seem like something just generic. It has its own organic accent. Like, no one else would frame it like this. No one else would think, let me just turn a step to the left, let me do that. And that, I think, is what makes the difference between true talent and just what gets by.
And other people. Okay, I'm going to give you an analogy on that, and something I have wrestled with for a very long time. When you hear a cover song of a cover of a great song, and they cover like a Motown song. I mean, that when the Temptations did it, there's nobody who's going to do it and add something that. Although Phil Collins did a good job with "You Can't Hurry Love," I can't deny that.
I like that.
But Led Zeppelin did "Stairway to Heaven." I can't imagine any other group doing that song and adding, like, what are you going to do it better than they did? Or the Beatles, "A Day in the Life." I mean,
Okay,
nobody's
now
going
that's
to do
fair.
that song better.
To go to Led Zeppelin, though, and Stairway to Heaven, I'm going to give you kind of a cool example that it was redone when Swedish House Mafia reunited at Ultra Music Festival in 2018. They used Stairway to Heaven to go into Don't You Worry Child for the first time in 5 years. That was an exciting experience. I thought it was cool.
All right, listen, I'm also
Avicii did something with Bob O'Reilly. This is my bread and butter, sampling. I'm a DJ, so, you know.
Listen, we're really off track here, but when Led Zeppelin was given the President's Award and Heart did Stairway to Heaven, that was a pretty good version, too. But you know what I'm saying.
I know what you mean.
Okay.
I do.
Listen, I want to talk about, again, the simplest stories, the stories that people of the Bronx can relate to.
You wouldn't believe it.
A crossing guard in Throg's Neck, and you told me that you had thousands of hits on it.
10,000 hits in 2 days.
Talk to me about the crossing guard in Throg's Neck.
So Ethel Van is the joyful soul of Throg's Neck. There's no other way to put it. She is right outside of St. Benedict's on the corner of Logan and Barclay. She makes it her mission to make you smile. In the 3 seconds you either stop to cross or drive across that intersection, she will make you smile. She will give you a wave. She'll say, "Hi, honey, God bless you," but you can't jaywalk because she needs her babies to cross safely.
Well, she's taking care of TCB, as we say in the Bronx. I'm curious now. I don't know if you want to give away your secrets. How did you find out about somebody like that? Did you experience it yourself, or did somebody say, "Hey, why don't you do a feature on her"? Where does that come from?
So this is something we actually talked about in our newsroom because we all obviously crossed.
Be quick, because I have one more thing and we're running out of time.
Yes. And we just said, we all cross the corner, and one day I come in, it's like, hey, look, we should do a story on this person.
There you go.
And
the last thing I want to do and make sure we had time for, the Bronx Times is going to have a BronxNet television program.
Yes, we are.
You are going to be the host. Tell us. Give us the whole thing.
So, coming late May, the BX Express with Alex Mitchell. I'm very happy.
Alex Mitchell?
With Alex
I don't
Mitchell.
even have the Bronx buzz with Gary Axelbank. That's good.
Had to get it in there. But I'm very excited. I'm honored that our paper is partnering with BronxNet to give me my first, you gave me my first media opportunity.
That's
but
okay. What's going to be on the show?
It is going to be all the things I love. News, food, entertainment, and a little X Factor.
Maybe some
little
sports
BX
too.
factor.
He's going to have, if he's wearing his Islanders cap. I don't know.
If someone gets drafted from the Bronx in the NHL, I'll be sure to have him on.
There we go. Listen, Alex, always a pleasure to have you. Folks, you got to read the Bronx Times Reporter, read Alex Mitchell's great work in there, and everybody's great work in there. Thank you so much for your time.
Gary, thank you.
Good luck to the Islanders. I mean, my Rangers are nowhere to be found, there you go. All right. So that's it, folks. I guess we're saying good night. We'll see you next week. This Monday night on Bronx Talk, Assemblyman Michael Blake will review the state budget. He's also a co-chair in the Democratic National Committee. We'll talk national politics. So that'll be on Bronx Talk this Monday night. Good night. Keep buzzing.